What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Ryan Meyer's Expeditions. We are not in Hawaii anymore. Guys, the start of this entire wedding, Bahamas, Florida mission has officially kicked off with our first Bahama day trip. So we took my buddy Oren's beautiful 39 Nortec, ripped across to Bimini, and we got a full day over here where we're gonna explore some of the perfect crystal clear Bahama waters. So over here in the Bahamas, we only use slings and pole spears. All spear guns are illegal, so it makes it a little bit more challenging to kind of get a bunch of fish. But there's so many fish over here that it just wouldn't even be fun with spear guns. Unfortunately, my own pole spears were up in Palm Beach, and this is a last minute trip out of Miami. So today I'm gonna be shooting this antique. This is kind of like a crazy old prototype that Headhunter made as the, compound bow for underwater. So this is gonna actually shoot like a free shaft out, and then I'm gonna have to go chase down the fish, chase down the shaft, and keep it away from the sharks. Unfortunately, this is the original band, so I have no idea how long this thing's gonna last, but I'm definitely gonna jump in the water and give it a shot. I took a spear off of my spear gun last night. Don't have a real sling shaft, but it's gonna have to do. Because if not, I'm gonna have to use one of these giant pole spears that these guys are using, which if you follow the channel, you see me in the Bahamas before, I'm really more of I'm a minimalist. I wanna bring as little stuff down there as possible, keep all my gear really small so that I can dive deep and really use those hunting techniques to get close to those fish versus just taking Hail Marys from as far as I can. So this first spot right here is gonna be an old plane wreck. And the last time Oren was here, he actually shot a cobia right on it. So I'm all suited up, I'm stoked. We're gonna see you guys in the water.
So to start the day off, Oren and the guys had a plane wreck. And this plane wreck is out here in the middle of the grass flats, in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And what's crazy is over here on these really shallow flat banks that just go for like 50 miles in either direction sometimes, that are super shallow, there's almost no structure. So anything that might be crashed out there or put out there as an artificial wreck, or any little coral heads that are in the middle of nowhere, are always stacked with life. And what was really cool about this one was, for whatever reason, it seemed to attract a lot of those giant stingrays. And those giant stingrays are probably out there cruising all over the flats, collecting those cobias. And those cobias are what, we kind of came here to look for. That's a real trophy fish, something that's really rare to ever shoot in the Bahamas. I've personally never shot one, but they said they've seen them here multiple times. And anytime that we're on these kind of, random structures in the middle of nowhere, we're always looking for those pelagics, those weird fish that might be hanging out, attracted to all this life, all this bait, all this shelter that's just kind of out here in the middle of nowhere. So we were looking for those cobias, but after I searched right on the wreck, which is kind of what I'll do first, when I get to a structure, I'm going straight to that structure, I'm gonna look around it real quick, and then I'm gonna figure out which way the current's going, and I'm gonna go up current of it, because a lot of those, bait fish will hang out up current. That way they can dart back with the current into the shipwreck, and also that way they can get the first dibs on the food that comes along drifting in the current. So I checked out this stingray right here, and I'm checking out the shipwreck, and then I'm gonna go forward, and I'm actually gonna dive like a couple hundred feet in front of the main structure to see what shows up there. So as I'm up there, I'm in front of the structure now. I'm several hundred feet. I cannot see the structure. I dive down, and I'll do what I always do. I'll get to the bottom and I'll do my grunts, and lo and behold, right here, those pelagics, bunch of African pompanos, or kagamis as they're known out here in Hawaii, are just kind of cruising around. And these ones all still had streamers. There was one or two that were like marginal in here, but it was too early in the day to shoot one of those. I did draw back on a couple times here, but none of them were really worth the shot. They were real juvenile, so I kind of let them all pass. But I did have a number of really cool dives where I got to get down to the bottom, do my grunts, and see what appeared. And these kagamis kept coming in, checking me out, and then going back out. But again, nothing really worth shooting. It is really cool though to see how much life gets held in front of the wreck. And if you didn't know about this and you just went straight to the shipwreck, these things weren't cruising around that wreck. So you would have never seen these if you hadn't have swam that 200, 300, 400 feet in front, dropped down, did your grunts, and waited for what came and showed up. Eventually I did pull the trigger on one of these yellow jacks. These things are absolutely delicious, and it was an awesome test of this sling. From there we moved out away from the bank onto like more traditional, like the edge of the drop off the reef, where you get more of this coral heady type stuff. And as you can see, for the Bahamas, the visibility is not real great. And the Bahama technique a lot of times is just swim around until you see a fish, swim down and shoot that fish, which is very weird for like the rest of the world. The rest of the world, we got to go down to the bottom, and even if there's no real fish around, I'll go down to the bottom, I'll do my scratching, I'll do my dusting, and I'll wait and kind of see what appears, because a lot of times you don't have enough visibility or not in shallow enough water to see your fish like you are over here in the Bahamas. But when I'm in the Bahamas, even if I don't see anything, I'm still diving down to those coral heads, sitting, posting up, waiting, because stuff like this happens where I'm down there. I didn't see this hogfish at all, but as I was chilling down there, Mr. Hogfish came over to check me out, and I was able to drill this thing with that sling right in the eyeball. From there, we really got onto like a whole mess of hogs. You know, now we're on that hard bottom that we're always looking for, that sea fanny type stuff, which seems to work so well over there in the islands and really hold a lot of those hogfish, mutton, stuff like that. So we're drifting along, and honestly, this fish I probably spotted from the surface. I'm just cruising until I see one, then I'll dive down and I'll pull the trigger again. I'm having an absolute blast testing out this sling. Like I said, these bands are like 7-8 years old, which is crazy. I never shoot bands like that, but this was a last second trip and I didn't have any of my gear, but she was shooting pretty awesome so far. Jose dove down and checked out one of these coral heads and actually drilled a giant cubera snapper. And he stuck this thing, but for whatever reason, that slip tip on whatever giant spear he was using didn't engage. So this fish was really messed up, but he wasn't able to secure it. And when I dove down and kind of play clean up and check it out, Mr. Cubera was spined, but poked his head out of the wrong hole. And I was again able to drill this thing with that little sling.
Bro, what a beast!
You see that I hit him?
You stoned him, bro!
What I found pretty crazy about these Bahama day trips is that everybody wants fish. You know, we came from Miami, we told all our friends, our family, we're like, yeah, we're going to the Bahamas tomorrow, and everybody's like, cool, bring back some fish, and all of a sudden everybody's like, cool, everything dies today. Because a lot of times we spend a lot of time in the Bahamas, but we don't shoot a lot of fish because you're there for like a week or two. Like, what are you gonna do? Take it back with you that day? You can't. So this trip, these guys had a holiday weekend. We were all like, hey, every marginal hog dies today because they're one of the most fantastic eating fish in the world, and we all had a lot of people to feed. On this dive right here, this is Jose, and I actually spotted this black in this ledge, and I didn't get a shot with my little sling, and I was like, yo, you go down there, I'm gonna film, and we'll see if you can't get this thing. And this size black is like my favorite. This like 15-pounder, they're just so freaking good to eat, chunky little meaty things. And you can see Jose was able to get down there, use that left hand to secure himself, take that nice long pole spear, which is perfect for this type of situation because he's able to stick it all the way in there, stick that thing, and then fully extract that thing. You can see the spear is actually fully all the way through that thing. That's the middle of the spear right there.
There you go!
What's so cool about the Bahamas is you can really hang out in this shallow stuff all day long and really fill a cooler. Oren was up next, perfect stone shot on a delicious yellow jack for the dinner table.
There you go! First shot.
We kind of spent a lot of time in this one little crack that Oren had, and every time we shot something, it was like more stuff was attracted. So this is that same ledge where Oren got his yellow jack, I got a couple hogs, we just pulled that black, and all that commotion like stirred up the ocean and attracts other stuff in there. And a couple of those fish you'll see is like the cubera snappers and the mutton snappers that are always really attracted to that life. So I saw a mutton kind of cruising in and out, back and forth, you know, attracted to that commotion. And I dropped down, and again, I don't go towards the snapper. I don't want anything to do with him. I want to go down, post up next to that ledge as if this was a moo or an uku. I want to kind of hang out, do a little dusting, be real still, real silent, and let that mutton get curious and come over to me. You can see when I went for the load, I spooked him a little bit, but didn't spook him enough that he didn't want to come back for more, and he came right in, and I was able to drill this beautiful mud snapper. And again, same ledge right there, just kept producing fish. And if we were over there, you know, for a week or two, maybe we'd pass on these marginal hogs, but there was like 5 of us on the boat, and we all had families to feed. It was the weekend. I think it was like a Friday afternoon. We needed fish. So today, every marginal hog was gonna die, which is an absolute blast for me, especially for this sling. The sling is so effective on these smaller 2, 3, 4 pound fish. You know, it's not as effective when you want to shoot something 20 pounds, it'll just jet off with your spear. But for these small ones, it is quick and efficient. No slip tip needed, just landing fish after fish after fish. One of my personal favorite things to do while I'm over there in the Bahamas is to look for lobsters, because they put out like these condos. The local people actually like deploy like old car hoods. This is probably a car hood of some kind, just old sheet metal. They build stuff and they put it out there. And once they kind of put it on the ocean floor, it's anybody's game. It's actually like, you know, totally legit to go and pull lobsters out of anything that you find out there. And these things are literally littering the Bahamas. They're everywhere. And every time I spot one from the surface, I'm like, you gotta go down, you gotta check real quick. Because again, that sling makes really short work of lobsters. If I had the pole spear, I would have to, you know, shoot that lobster and then extract it from the slip tip. Whereas I've got that sling, and real quickly I can stick it and just slide it down the end, throw it on the boat, put it in my belt, whatever, and then go get another one. And again, you can see super quick transition there. Lobster to hogfish, these things go together just so freaking well on the dinner table and in the same locations. You'll find the lobsters and the hogs on that same type of hard bottom with these small little, you know, nooks. These little nooks will hold the lobsters and will hold those hogfish. 2 of probably some of the best eating things that I've ever found anywhere in the world. If you guys follow this channel, you know that I love my deeper water dives. And wherever I am in the world that is super fishy, a lot of times, you know, like we can fill our cooler, we can get plenty of fish in 20 feet of water over here in the Bahamas. But for me, I'm always like, cool, well, if great fish live in 20 feet, and even better fish live in 40 feet, and even better fish live in 60 feet. So I got the guys to drop me out just a little bit deeper. This might have been 50 feet out here, but you can see that the deeper coral head with the grass all around it that just looks incredible. This looks so fishy. Unfortunately, we just barely had the visibility to be able to dive it this day. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, the Bahamas get stirred up sometimes. I am always disappointed when I'm over there and it's not like 120 feet of crystal clear, perfect blue water, because that's what I've come to expect over there. But this doesn't hurt for hunting really at all. As long as you got a shadow from the surface that you can see the coral head, and then you can dive down and be on it, and your buddy can watch the coral head, and then you're gonna come up next to the coral head. And you know, that's kind of a skill that we have for, you know, anywhere in the world. As long as we have a shadow of the reef and you can watch your buddy disappear there at the shadow, you keep watching that shadow, he's gonna come up right there. So I get down to the coral head and I do my dusting and my grunting, and I didn't really see a lot. But then from way out in the distance, a really nice mutton snapper came in, and I threw a really long shot at this thing, but drilled it. And then you have to go out and chase after your fish, which is what makes the sling so fun. Shoot it, chase it down, grab your fish. Your job is not done after you pull that trigger.
Oh! Mahi's everywhere, guys. Cruising along on our way home there. Just found a massive floater, 2 frigate birds up high. Mahi's all over the place. Check this out, he's got one right there. Everywhere.
Anytime we run back and forth to the Bahamas, we are always on the lookout for these floaters. I mean, anything that we might come across. Like, this is just like a sack. I don't know, some kind of something that flew off a boat, some kind of shipping something. It attracts all of this life. You can see all those little almaco jacks, or I think they call them kampachi out here. Those mahis everywhere, little bitty triple tails. Such a cool thing to get to experience in the middle of the ocean after an absolutely awesome day. We caught a handful of these mahis, and then we're out of there chasing the sunset, heading back into Miami. So we made it back home and we split up all those fish, and I took all those lobster and I actually cooked them up last night with Sam's dad. We grilled them. She did some kind of butterfly thing with a compound butter that was unbelievable. So now we have those hogfish fillets left, and Sam's mom is gonna do that recipe that we do all the time, but it turns out I do the super basic version. So I do breadcrumbs, butter, just on top of the fish. She's got it a little bit souped up. What did you add? You added lemon
and capers.
And capers to the top of it. Just gonna do that over a bed of rice and beans. It's gonna be fantastic. Check this out. So you pre-made all your stuff, and that's just going right on top here. Look at these beautiful hogfish fillets. So perfectly white. Go in the oven like 15 minutes.